Apple's MacBook Air lineup has always flirted with the idea of being the everyman's Mac, powerful enough for creatives, efficient enough for students, and elegant enough to sit in any boardroom. But with the launch of the M4 MacBook Air, Apple might have just nailed the formula. This isn't merely an iterative update. It's a signal that Apple knows what it's doing, and it's doing it with confidence. On our channel Technology Review, we're diving deep into why the M4 MacBook Air could be the perfect laptop for 2025, and why, despite its many wins, it still carries a few quirks you need to know before making the leap. Let's begin with what Apple didn't change: the design. The aluminum chassis looks almost identical to previous models, and for many that's a relief. It's still razor-thin, feather-light, and unmistakably Mac. But subtle refinements set the new model apart, like a textured keyboard finish that feels slightly more premium, resisting fingerprints and oils better over time. It's a small touch, but it's the kind of small touch Apple fans notice. Combine that with a new deep blue color that adds a quiet boldness to the machine, and the M4 Air becomes visually distinct even in familiar territory. Where this laptop truly evolves is under the hood. Apple is now offering 16 gigabytes of unified memory by default, which used to cost you more. That change alone makes the M4 MacBook Air a productivity beast right out of the box. Whether you're juggling dozens of browser tabs, working with large files, or jumping between apps, the performance stays consistently smooth. The fact that Apple made this the new baseline while also dropping the starting price feels like a rare moment of generosity in consumer tech. But here's where it gets real: dual monitor support. For years, MacBook Air users were limited to a single external display. Not anymore. With the M4 Air, you can now connect 2 monitors plus use the built-in screen. And it's a game changer for multitaskers, coders, traders, and content creators who need more space to breathe. If your workflow thrives on multiple windows and split-screen setups, this machine might be the first Air that's genuinely pro-environment ready. Battery life remains impressive. While the leap from the M2 isn't revolutionary, the M4 still improves on what was already exceptional. Expect anywhere from 12 to 15% more battery in real-world use. Whether you're deep in a Final Cut timeline, streaming endless content, or working remotely for hours, that extra juice goes a long way. And with the new charging brick, topping up is faster than ever. And when it comes to the actual computing experience, the M4 chip steps in with noticeable improvements. The leap in both single-core and multi-core scores isn't just theoretical. It's reflected in how fast apps open, how smoothly animations run, and how efficient background tasks feel. The GPU gets a small but important bump as well, allowing for better visuals and smoother creative workflows. That said, if you're coming from an M2 MacBook Air, the upgrade may not feel groundbreaking in day-to-day use. But the performance ceiling is now higher. That means more headroom for heavy-duty tasks, better thermal performance under stress, even without fans, and a system that's ready for macOS updates for years to come. Can it replace the MacBook Pro? That's a more complicated question. For general users, students, and many creatives, the answer is yes. Editing 4K video, producing music, graphic design, all of that feels great on the M4 Air. In fact, compared side by side with the M3 Max MacBook Pro, you'll be surprised at how similarly they perform on basic editing tasks. Where the Pro still pulls ahead is in long-term sustained tasks. Think large project rendering, extended timelines, and thermal management. There's no denying the MacBook Pro's better display, especially with its 1600 nit mini LED panel and anti-glare nanotexture. The sound system also trumps what the Air offers. The M4 Air speakers are decent, but the sound lacks the body, depth, and bass of its pricier sibling. So if you're an audio engineer or someone who consumes media heavily, this could be a sticking point. Another minor letdown: port placement. Both Thunderbolt ports remain on one side, and that decision continues to frustrate. Want to plug your laptop on the right side of your desk? You're in dongle territory or dealing with cables draping across your screen. The lack of Wi-Fi 7 is also a head-scratcher, especially when Apple is already including it in the latest iPhones. This omission feels odd. While Wi-Fi 6E is still plenty fast for now, users who are building out future-proof networks might find the M4 Air's connectivity slightly lacking. And now about the screen. Yes, it's still 500 nits of brightness. Yes, it's still LCD. And yes, it still looks great. But in a world where OLED laptops and high refresh rate displays are becoming more common, the Air screen is beginning to feel a little dated. You won't mind it until you use something sharper, more contrast-rich, or smoother. The anti-reflective coating helps outdoors, but it can't match the depth and richness of modern OLED panels. Still, for the vast majority of people, these aren't deal breakers. The M4 MacBook Air's strengths outweigh its compromises. It's more than capable, more affordable than ever, and it hits the sweet spot between performance, portability, and price. There's also something to be said about the software ecosystem. With Apple's transition to ARM now complete, every major app runs natively and efficiently. The days of Rosetta translation delays are gone. Whether it's Adobe Apps, Final Cut Pro, Microsoft Office, or development environments, everything feels fast, fluid, and stable. What stands out most is the value. This isn't just a great MacBook. It might be the most sensible computer Apple has made in years. It delivers performance on par with the pros, brings upgrades that genuinely matter, and trims fat where it makes sense, all while being cheaper than its predecessor. For students heading to college, freelancers building their brand, or remote workers looking to upgrade their setup, the M4 MacBook Air is practically a no-brainer. Even if you're a long-time Windows user, this is the machine that could finally make you jump ship. But should everyone buy one? Not necessarily. If you already own an M2 MacBook Air and it's serving you well, there's no urgent reason to upgrade unless you specifically need more external displays, more RAM by default, or faster charging. For those with older Intel-based Macs, however, this is the leap you've been waiting for. And for creative professionals, if you're on a tight budget and don't need sustained thermal performance, the M4 Air is a great fit. But if your work demands extended rendering, flawless audio, top-tier displays, and all-day power under load, the MacBook Pro still holds the crown. At the end of the day, the M4 MacBook Air isn't trying to be everything to everyone. Instead, it's trying to be the perfect laptop for most people, and it succeeds brilliantly. It's fast, modern, portable, and finally priced right. On Technology Review, we think this is the best MacBook Air Apple has ever made, not just because it's more powerful, but because it finally gets the balance right. Want our honest advice? If you've been waiting for the perfect time to jump into the Apple world, 2025 is it, and this is the machine to do it with.